So I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons for about 3 years now, and it's been one of the best decisions of my life. My creativity's been up and it's been great fun. But I've developed some bad mentalities when it came to the game, and I want to share my mistakes so that newer players don't fall into the same trap. If you happen to have developed these mentalities or habits, you're not a bad player and everyone has room to grow. Even pros that have been playing for 20 plus years have things to work on. When you create your character, aside from race and class, you typically have a backstory to go along with them. It could be anything from a paragraph to 10 pages. Typically having enough for your DM to get a good idea of what motivates them and how they fit into the story is a good target to strive for. However, this can lead to newer players to put all of their investments into the backstory, and if their backstory isn't integral to some aspect of the story, or if there isn't a side quest dedicated to resolving some aspect of their backstory, then it can feel like their character doesn't matter at all to the campaign. This is simply a misaligned priority. A backstory is supposed to tell us who this character was and is at the start, and the rest of the campaign is the character growing and changing from the starting point. What about my half-elf ranger who was raised by bears and has to avenge her dead bear parents? It's integral to her character. Sure, that's great. I encourage creative backstories like that one. But a campaign shouldn't sidetrack for one person's backstory to be resolved. Dungeons & Dragons isn't a shonen anime where each character gets their own arc while everything else is ignored until it's done. The DM should incorporate the backstory into the main plot so everyone grows together, maybe not all at the same rate, but as a team. Let's say that the man who killed the ranger's bear parents was also working for the main villain, or is in fact the main villain. That way, the ranger has a reason to go on the quest to stop the bad guy and their evil deeds. The motivation is tied in and allows for more organic storytelling from everyone at the table. But Critical Role, the immensely popular livestream D&D show, focuses on its characters' backstories. Critical Role does a lot of things you should and shouldn't do at a table. I adore Critical Role to death, and these nerdy-ass people are wonderful. But they also have an insanely high degree of trust and interest in everyone that a lot of tables don't have. I love the warlock of that campaign, Ford, and his arc in the show. I adore it. But this wouldn't fly with every table. Not everyone is willing to go on an ocean voyage for 3 in-game months for one person's backstory. Knowing me, while I love being invested in other players' stories, if my character isn't there and I'm waiting for over an hour for something to resolve, my attention span has gone out the window and halfway to Kentucky. I fully acknowledge that it's a me thing, but when there are other people there, it's important to be courteous to other players at the table. One of the things you absolutely should take away from Critical Role, however, is that investment in each other and trust. New players may not grasp that at first because they are so excited to show off their creation to everyone else, and that's perfectly fine to be excited. I know I do. The best tables are the ones who are invested in each other and the story they want to tell together. That's where the magic happens. You can make your character's backstory whatever you want. Go nuts and have fun. Just remember that your backstory is only one facet of your character. Now, this may sound silly on the surface to say, but D&D is a group game. But when the DM gives you and your character a nugget of importance, whether it be an important NPC wanting to speak to them, a hard choice, or something else, that spotlight feels really good. You feel like you matter at the table. Unfortunately, I've gone too far with this in a desperate attempt to feel important. I've seen online and experienced moments of one-on-one sessions or small groups of the party outside the main session, and this is honestly antithetical to Dungeons & Dragons. And I know Crit Role has done this on occasion, but it's very seldom, and they are never more than 15 to 20 minutes and are in the main session. One-on-one sessions without the rest of the party present that can last for over an hour harms the main reason why we play the game in the first place. To have fun with friends. Small moments with the character by themselves while the players are at the table is fine and good. I highly encourage it. But if the players aren't there, it can lead to bad levels of FOMO, which I tend to suffer from personally. It can also greatly diminish the investment the other players at the table have in your character and their exploits. The only way a player is going to be interested in your tiefling warlock who sold their soul to save an orphanage is if they get to see them do the cool stuff. One of the greatest experiences in D&D is celebrating each other's accomplishments. Getting that natural 20 on an attack in the middle of a heated battle is all the more sweeter when shared. One-on-one sessions should really only be used for players who frequently can't make the games and need a reason why they can't be there all the time. And I totally understand. Even if no one says it out loud, people want other players to be invested in their character they carefully crafted. But that can't happen if they aren't there to be invested. Even if the PC is by themselves fending off an attack on the orphanage during some downtime in-game, the tension is higher because the fellow players want you to succeed. It becomes a moment that you can all talk about for years to come. This last bit of advice took me a while to figure out for myself, and it ties into the last point. Don't rely on your GM to give you moments in the spotlight. See as moments that fit your character. Now this has caveats. D&D has no main character. You're a group bumbling your way through an adventure together as a team. But everyone has their moment to shine. To blatantly steal the comparison, because it's a good one and very apt, D&D is Guardians of the Galaxy. Everyone's backstory is tied into the main plot. Ronan, the blue guy that no one ever remembers the name of, killed Drax's family and he's the main villain of the movie. Nebula is Gamora's sister and is working with the main baddie. Quill, Rocket, and Groot wanted the money for their retrieval, plus Quill retrieved the Infinity Stone in the opening scene of the movie. Then they all meet and are thrown in prison. Honestly, James Gunn must be a D&D player because this movie is exactly like a campaign and no one can convince me otherwise. Anyway, don't wait for the story to come to you. You make the story. I developed a feeling of neglect that clung to me for a really long time, and it clouded my vision so much that I didn't realize that I could make my own moments and create my own fun at the table with my friends. Now, if a DM is completely ignoring your character and favors others, then I talk to them, and if that doesn't work, yeet yourself out of there and find another table. But that's only for the worst case scenario. And as a warning for those who were like me, you can easily overcompensate and end up hogging the spotlight. It's a hard balance, but I believe you can do it. Some of the most memorable moments I have from D&D is us doing something stupid to get something to happen, but we were the ones to do it in the first place. My wizard breaking a wand over her knee because it sent assassins after the caster and that led to a goblin cult. Long story. Or even just my gunslinger shooting herself literally in the foot because our rogue was ignoring her because he felt a betrayal of trust. Or when in the same campaign, our paladin cut down a mast on a ship and killed 20 dudes instantly. These things wouldn't have happened if I or any of my friends relied on the DM to give us moments to shine. Your fun is what you make of it. These things aren't super easy to grasp at first, but if you can, I guarantee you'll end up having a super fun time at your table.